What's good? I'm Kinell, and this is Sinister Cinema, where we get deep into the guts of the stranger side of cinema. Just letting you know with this little bit at the start that we now have a Patreon. Sub up to that and you can get all these episodes early and ad-free, so you won't even see this bit at the start. You get them a few days before the main episodes drop out. We've got some great guests coming up. We've got some studio episodes. We've got some Zoom episodes with some fantastic rappers talking about the films they love and the films that influenced them. We got a lot going on there. Plus, you get some bonus content like film reviews, all that kind of thing. I don't need to explain this to you. You know what a Patreon is. But yeah, it's patreon.com/Kinell Sinister Cinema. So check that out. Peace. Yes, people. What's good? I'm Kinell, and this is Sinister Cinema, where we get deep into the guts of the stranger side of cinema. Kinell Sinister Cinema is brought to you by Forgotten Sons Apparel. Check them out at forgottensonsapparel.co.uk. Forgotten Sons Apparel is a York-based streetwear brand drawing inspiration from alternative culture, tattoos, film, classic TV and cartoons from our childhood. In our own words, if you like our stuff half as much as we do, then we like it twice as much as you. I'm a big fan of this brand and I love the guys who make it. They've supported me for years, way before I was podcasting. They supported me in my battle rap career. You might have seen me rocking some of their garms on Don't Flop and other leagues. I love Forgotten Sons Apparel and I'm urging you all to check them out at forgottensonsapparel.co.uk. Right, now on with the show. What's good? Once again, it is the KSC, Kinell Sinister Cinema Podcast. Okay, last few weeks we've been doing these things, like we've had Shuffle on, we've had Frankie on. I've really enjoyed talking to some of these amazing top tier battle rappers that I know about the films that influenced them and that kind of thing. So I think I'm going to make a little bit of a series out of it. I think I'm going to keep a bit of this going and because it's really interesting for me, so I'm guessing it must be interesting for you too. I mean, there's always been this big link between people who create punchlines and create these narratives using words and the cinema that influences them. It's a really interesting thing for me. So I'm trying to get the best writers and some of the most talented battle rappers in the UK and abroad, spoilers, to come on and talk about this kind of thing. So yeah, I've got another absolute legend for you, and this time it's going to be none other than Tony D. Yes, Uncle Tone, the legend himself, just fresh off that amazing battle with Bizzo at the Fiddlers and star of untold classics. Try and do a top 10 UK battles without Tony in. You can't do it. And he's been a legend since Poisonous Poets. He's always been around and he's always seemed to have this incredible way of using words to create imagery and just make it sound really cool whilst painting the exact picture he wants to paint. It's an incredible talent and he is truly gifted at it. The man is an absolute legend, and I was absolutely delighted to get him in to talk to him. So, on with the episode. Yo, and we are off. Yes, welcome to the KSC podcast, and I am wearing an absolutely awful t-shirt because it's the most lightweight thing I can wear in this ridiculous heat, and I am not about to interview Tony D with my hairy tits out. Jeez. How is this weather treating you, man? It's like, flipping, we're up north and it's 28 degrees at 8 in the evening.
Yesterday, we was in Essex and it was, I had a three-piece suit on, tie, waistcoat, thick shirt, thick cotton shirt. It was like 30 degrees yesterday. Ooh. I was dying. I was absolutely dying, man. But yeah, I've got the fan on over here to try and cool me off. But you can see, look, my forehead is shining. There's no getting away from it. The heat in England doesn't have breeze. The breeze is sold separately. You have to go down to the beach to get breeze, man. This is
summer British heat is not the same as heat anywhere else.
Nowhere else. It's just intense. Let's see if we can melt your eyeballs. How far do we go?
Yeah, flipping. We don't have a lifestyle that's compatible with this heat. People who live in around this heat, like that they work the whole community and the way things move around it. We don't have that here.
No.
We just hit this couple of days a year and we suffer. Like today's been killing me, man. I've been working from home today, and I've been out with Foresight like these last couple of hours. Like Foresight just popped up to Chester, flipping messaging me at 2 PM because he ain't working office hours like me. So he's like messaging me on Instagram, like flipping Revs are doing flipping 2 cocktails for a $5. You know, look, I've got 2 zombies. I'm like, bro, if it's 2 PM, man, I'm not on these hours. But obviously I had to go out and meet him. Like I've had 4 zombies today. It's at 8 in the evening. It's this heat.
Today.
Yeah, man.
I haven't drunk today. Like I was drinking Guinness all day yesterday. Ooh. Like I might have had about 6, 7 Guinness. Yeah, but I think I had to leave the last one. It was about 3 AM and I just left it on the bar. Like I can't even finish that. And so yeah, today no drinking for me. Lots of water and just trying to. Like I'm finished. I had a little nap, but I'm dead. I need to go to bed proper. Like done that. It's too much. Yeah,
I'm on the raspberry cordial trying to flipping like get that in because like flipping that drinking in the heat and that if you go to bed and you're not hydrating, man, it hurts.
Yeah, you finished. Like I'm drinking water. It says vodka on the glass, but I'm actually drinking water. Because,
I'm drinking the cordial out of a Guinness glass, man.
How you doing though, bro? Other than dying in this heat, man, how you been?
Pretty good in general, man. Flipping, I've just not been intensely busy, man. Flipping, I've been doing some work things that really don't matter for this, like, but life in general's been pretty good.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man. But yeah, this is a film podcast, but obviously, like most of the time, we just don't end up talking about films. I think this is going to be one of them ones.
No, what's so funny? I was thinking, right? He's invited me on this, and I rarely watch movies. Like, I really watch. The only things I really see are like Disney films that I watch with my kids. Like I've seen Lightyear. Yeah. I've seen Paddington 2.
Yeah.
That's my range. That's my range.
I don't know. Like the one film I wanted to bring up specifically, because it's the film that pops into my head when I think of Tony D watching a film, is The Outlaw Josie Wales.
Bro, that I will watch that. ITV4 plays that like at just different times. It might be on in 1 in the afternoon or 4 in the morning. Yeah. But ITV4 plays The Outlaw Josie Wales about 15 times a year. Yeah. And I catch it about 9 of those times. I will just sit. I don't care. Like I will sit and watch The Outlaw Josie Wales as many times as it's on. I love it. I love it.
It's so good, man. I fucking because like when I knew we were doing this, I thought, I've been thinking about Westerns because of that, because I associate that film with you. And I don't think you've ever done a bar about it, have you?
No, I never have. I've never had not even not one Clint Eastwood bar at all. Yeah. At all. And I'm a massive, like, I love spaghetti Westerns.
Yeah, man.
Like, and not even so much the spaghetti, like a lot of that other, like Alan Ladd, who's the other fella? He committed suicide. But yeah, I grew up watching Westerns and Kung Fu's with my dad and my gran. So they're just heavily, like, even every night this week for about the last, about 3 months. I don't know what put me onto it, but I'll just watch a different Kung Fu on YouTube before I go to bed. Yeah. I was writing for Bizzo and I just had Kung Fu's playing just every night.
Like flipping, I'll tell you where there's loads got, like the Arrow channel at the minute, like they got their own app. And like flipping, I'm subscribed to it. It's like £3.87 a month, I think I pay, like. But they've like started like restoring loads of old Shaw Brothers stuff. And is it flipping like they got like big collections of it, like, so I've been going back to like loads of them, like, because like, it's like the Kung Fu films, like if you go looking for them when you're young, you just tend to gravitate towards Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll have a mate or like an older relatives that's into them, and they'll go, if you like that, you watch this. and you find out about like your 5 deadly venoms and all those kind of things, those ways.
That might be the greatest story of a kung fu film I've ever seen.
Yeah.
5 Deadly Venoms is amazing writing. You don't see kung fu films with that type of story. It's generally that guy killed someone ages ago. We're gonna go and kill him, and it's just these tales of revenge. But that one has got a proper, great storyline.
Yeah, it's like the whole kind of structure about it, the different styles, like because that's what I like in kung fu films, is when there's like all people with different styles and like it. They all have these different characteristics, and like 5 Deadly Venoms is like one of the best ones for the style of like people realize if we combine these different techniques, then we can beat any enemy. Like, and it's like such a good message for life, really, isn't it? Like,
yeah, for real.
But it's also loads of like really cool fucking kung fu to watch.
It's amazing. Yeah, there's some amazing fight scenes, man. I tried to get my son onto them. Like, he came down the other day, he caught me watching, man. He was like, the editing in this is terrible. He's like, rewind it. Look at this. And I'm like, bro, you're ruining it for me. I know it's bad. I've accepted it's bad. It was bad back then, but this is what we do. We watch it. And he's like, no, I'm not watching this. I'm not watching it. Yeah, time. Go and watch Pokemon.
Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe you need to try and sneak him in, like fucking get him into a bit of Power Rangers and.
Yeah, that might be that might be the way to get in. Like, I was always too old for Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Like, because I grew up on actual kung fu films. By the time Power Rangers came out, I was probably a teenager, and I thought I was cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was way too cool.
Because it was a kid's show, like, wasn't it?
Yeah. And like, what's the point? You know what I mean? We can just watch Invincible Armor. We've got that on video. You know? So yeah, I was too late for Power Rangers.
That's it. I reckon that's the fucking pipeline, though. You go from Pokemon to Power Rangers to fucking 5 Deadly Venoms.
That'll be the one. Or even a lot of these, like the Barefoot Kid. Like my grandmother is a massive kung fu fan, but so she started getting into like the newer ones. You know, when they was doing the fighting and kicking in the air and stuff. RZA had a whole hip hop video where he fought in that style. And like there's powder flying everywhere, but they're doing these kicks and punches.
Yeah, the wire work stuff.
Yeah, so my gran put me onto those. Like, I started with the Barefoot Kid, but maybe I'll try to get him onto like those Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. We see the new versions. We'll see what we can do, man.
That's it. And then when you start seeing what's good about them, you're like, oh, suddenly, like, now I can appreciate this, innit, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's proper art. When you watch them, like, I will watch a training montage of a kung fu film and then rewind it and watch it again. Like, I would just, that time when they're just hitting wood, like breaking bricks, pulling, you know, when they wet the rope and they twist it and then pull it apart as like they're training. Bro, I will watch the shit out of those. Like, I love the training montages, but the techniques involved, just the choreography is incredible to watch, man. Like, it's difficult to choreograph a normal fight, and these men have got kicks, punches, flips. I love it, man. I love everything about it.
You've got two people that they're basically doing gymnastic shit that has to combine and look cool.
Yeah, and like I wonder what the outtakes look like, because sometimes they must take ages to get it right. Like, it's got to. But
I think it's kind of like, I think like the culture over there is kind of like how it is for like fucking like vocalists in Jamaica, where like fucking like the only people who get the gigs are the people who come in and nail it one time. Fucking like there's probably like a B league of people who never get to the camera, like.
Yeah, for real. Because it is the same. It's the same people in each movie. Yeah. Like, it's always the same people. It's always the same. The same fella owns the restaurant. Like, it's always the same guy that owns the restaurant. It's always the same. Like the guy who runs the terrible kung fu school. Like, the fat guy and the skinny guy are always together. Like,
your one guy who's like, he's got this one bit of the beard, like that guy.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think, those guys, like, we know we rely on them, so they're just in everything.
Yeah, it's fucking mad. Like, fucking like the whole of the Hong Kong film, like Hong Kong is like such a small space considering how many amazing films came out of it. Like one thing I've been looking into recently is like the Cat 3 films, like flipping category 3 in Hong Kong. that's something that came around at the end of the 80s and the 90s through to, that was like their X-rated. That was like that was like what should we call it? They're like fucking like the films with like dirty sex stuff in and all this kind of thing. I'm well into this film. Like I've spoke to Kruger about it a few times. Like called The Story of Ricky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I think that one was from like the early 90s. Like it's basically this guy goes to prison. He's just like the hardest fucking kill anyone motherfucker. And it's just other people from this corrupt prison trying to fuck him up. And he just keeps fucking them up. And they just keep putting him in giant traps and he just fucks them up. And eventually he just punches his way through the wall in the fucking prison and walks out. And you're thinking, could have done that a lot earlier. That feels like stage one. If you could punch through the wall of the prison and walk out.
Yeah.
All the stuff. But I was like looking into the director. And he was doing this like he did. I've got the film like this category 3 film. It's called like an erotic ghost story, which is like when they were doing like because like it was coming off the back of like they were doing like folklore kind of films at the time, like a Chinese ghost story. I really like them. They're on Prime. They're really good. They're sort of like, you know, inspired by like Chinese folklore, and it's like fucking ghosts and shit, but it's like their type of ghosts and all this. And like someone had the idea of like doing fucking like a parody version of it, kind of like a sex version. Like we used to have, like, you know, you'd have like Star Whores or whatever. They did that, but because it's like Hong Kong, it's still got a lot of kung fu in it. It's like a sex film, but there's still like kung fu scenes and wow. And there's this whole there's a subcategory in like fucking, if you look for what should we call it? Like kung fu sex on Google, it'll come up with like, they're all uploaded to X videos because you can't get them anywhere else. So there's this subgenre of like fucking like there's this one, I think it's called a Chinese torture chamber story, which sounds fucking terrifying. It sounds like it's a fucking snuff film or something, but it's like they've taken the structure of the kung fu films, where like fucking it's like different schools, like fucking like with their rival styles, but like one's women and one's men, and they've got like fucking they've got different sex styles, but it's sex kung fu. So they're like flying through the air, go, you know, every pelvic thrust's got like a fucking like a punch noise. Yeah, it's all like hidden tongue. Fucking I think there's one move, invincible cunt, and it's just like destroying the guy. Like,
I'm gonna have to check these out.
If you just type in kung fu sex into Google, you'll get like the X videos links, and like some people have been good enough to upload them with subtitles, and the subtitles are the most important part.
Amazing.
Because you're not jacking off to sex kung fu, it's all about the hilarity, like. But yeah, a Chinese torture chamber story. Like I saw a clip on Google. Like it's incredible stuff. Like it's just wild how like, I mean, like fucking yeah.
I've got to check this out. I 100% have to check this. It's like two of my favorite things in the world. Do you know what I mean? Smut and kung fu. Like I'm gonna have to look at it.
Yeah, man. A Chinese torture chamber story, like
a Chinese torture chamber story. All right, I'm gonna look for that.
Yeah, I think it's like a literal translation of something that's like a double entendre over there. Like, it doesn't surprise me that Kruger knows about this type of stuff, and Kruger watches the craziest films I have. You and him probably have you share a lot of the same kind of movie. Well, I've got I'm going to be having him on kind of shortly. I have it kind of divided with how I do the show. Like I have we have like proper deep dives. Like I got Dave Wayne, who's like he runs a brick and mortar video rental shop in the year 2022.
Wow.
And the reason he's still running is because he has the knowledge. Like and like people know you can go to his shop and flip it, like tell him what you like, and he will provide like a million films that are exactly to your taste that you won't heard of. I think it's
who has a video, like who has a VHS player? No,
it's not VHS. Like he's renting like DVDs and Blu-rays, but
okay.
involved with that. But he's like kept the shop running since his parents had it in the 80s.
Amazing. That used to be one of my favorite. Like the favorite day was going to the video shop with my mum. Like a Friday evening, even Blockbusters was too far. Like we had a local video store, just a blue shop.
Yeah, you know, or just like fucking like your local corner shop and just have a bit. Yeah.
Funnily enough, when my mum moved up here, she moved to Walthamstow, and there used to be a video store, and like the same thing. Every Friday night, we just go and just get videos. Like now, it's a butcher's. I mean, it's a butcher's now. But yeah, we used to do the same thing. Like it was a thing. No, you not do it anymore. You stream or whatnot. But I'm impressed that he's still.
I think it's like taken the magic away from cover art, because cover art was the most important thing in the video rental era. Like you couldn't go on your phone and look what a film was like. So unless your mate had told you it was cool, you just had to look for the cover art that appealed to you.
Yeah, and you find gems like that. I remember a film I found out the blue called Wild Thing. About a kid who lived, I think it was in New York. He just grew up homeless on the street. But he turned into like some superhero. You know what I mean? He saved people from muggers and stuff like that. Came out like 85, 86 or something. But just the cover, I was like, I'll have a bit of that. Tucked in Critters. Transylvania 65000, was it called?
Oh yeah, with Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis.
Yeah, just stuff like that. Wild cover art that just made you go, do you know what? I'm watching that today. Like, it's not happening no more.
Yeah, it's got. I mean, like, you know, that used to be it with music and all, didn't it? Because when you were buying an album, you'd buy one album with your money that you'd saved up from your paper rounds, and like before you had like real knowledge of things, like, you know, eventually you'd get it. Like, you know, you'd get one thing and like fucking it's got this guest appearance, so like I'll see his album, I'll get it next. And yet you had to find things out that way, but the starting point was the cover art.
It was exactly that. Like the Ghetto Boys, We Can't Be Stopped album. Probably the greatest album cover ever. Do you know what I mean? Bushwick Bill on a hospital trolley, hair after shooting himself. Like that. You see that and you're like, I want to know what they're talking about. I want to know what they're saying. And yeah, like you said, then you look, I remember buying it was straight out of Compton. And then looking back through it and then going back and buying NWA in a Compton Posse. And then go and buy an Isht. And then it just opened up the world of West Coast hip hop to me.
Yeah, like, that's it. Because, like, you know, when they split up, then you get the Ice Cube albums and he's got a couple of guests on there. And and then you hear he's sending for some people. So you go, who's he sending for?
You'd be like, I love it. Those were the days, man. Everything's kind of disposable now. It's too easy to obtain. There's no searching things out. It's just there. It's there. Look on your phone, tap it in, and out it comes.
You'd have to save up like a couple of weeks paper round money, like to flip and get an album, and that'd be the one album you'd get that month. So you'd have a whole month consuming that album. So it was such a critical, important purchase.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. And you soak everything in, like you read the cover. Do you know what I mean? Like the sleeve notes, all that. I remember Ish-T's Original Gangster had the lyrics on the sleeve of the vinyl, but it was printed at the opposite side of the margin. So where you normally have like the margin here, and then the writing comes off, the end of the sentences was the straight. And the beginning of the sentences was all, it was crazy. But it just got me into like that proper open my eyes to lyricism, like to really sit and read what these people are saying. And you're like, listening to it and reading it at the same time, like a proper nerd. Like,
that was it, man. Flipping exactly the same thing, like flipping. And you start thinking like, hang on, how does he do that? Like he's written a sentence here, but when I listen to it, it sounds really cool. How's he saying some words sound cool?
And then here we are, like, we studied the hell out of it, man. Do you know what I mean? But that's all you did. You sat intently, like you said, one album for the month. You know, because that's all you could afford, and you sat there and listened to it. Or you got a tape. Your friend gave you a tape. You borrowed a tape from him. Sat and looking at the liner notes, reading everything. Yeah, just those was the days, man. I couldn't tell you the last time I even looked. No, I tell a lie. West Side Gun. He has quite evocative cover art.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, I couldn't tell you when I looked at someone's album. I thought that I'm gonna get off the strength of the album cover. It doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, I feel bad for like the fucking graphic designers of that era. Like there was one point when like, being a guy who designed covers, you were like fucking the biggest fucking influencer. Like fucking your work could make an album a fucking success or a fucking flop.
Do you remember Pen and Pixel?
Yeah. Did all the No Limits and that, like.
Yeah, and you'd have a bear in a Mercedes. Like, you know what I mean? Wearing a Rolex watch.
like flipping, like, because like No Limit wasn't really like well respected in like the limited flipping hip hop press we had in the UK. Like they weren't really fucking with it in like Hip Hop Connection and all that kind of thing. But you'd see, but like if you could get like a fucking like copy of the source, or you'd just be reading it in the newsagents, it'd be like this fucking thick, and like it'd all be adverts with those crazy fucking pen and pixel things. Like kind of got into it that way, and like no one was fucking with it at the time. But like a lot of those productions, like fucking like they were the ones that were doing like the 808 beats and like the KLC productions and all that kind of thing. That like all music is based on now, like not just hip hop.
No, they set so many trends, man. They set, I mean, just coming from the South at that time, they were not really respected outside of the South. There were very few Southern rappers who got that respect, but they just did it. I guess it's like if you were just appealing to the people of Chester. Yeah. But everybody in Chester bumped your shit. They just bought it. Do you know what I mean? No one else in the rest of the country cared, but Chester did. That's all right. You're famous in Chester. Do you know what I mean? But they set the trend for like, once the door did open, everything came through and everyone kind of followed on what they were doing. It was crazy.
Yeah, flipping I mean, it was the maddest flipping thing when, because I mean, like Snoop signed to No Limit, didn't? And like that was it. It's like that. Like
where did that come from?
Let's be real. Like the album he did on No Limit was not great. But like, you know, just having him like fucking like it was the Master P album with the remix and Make Him Say and like there was fucking Snoop guest things on it and he was rapping over those kind of beats. That was a seismic fucking shift when people had to like respect this fucking thing that no one was willing to give any time to.
No, and he done it like they just did it themselves. They built it up, and like I said, they did their thing just in their area. Yeah, but I imagine, because it's so big, that's a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a lot of people anyway that's going to support you.
I remember like Joe Muggs' article when he was talking about like how like sort of grime had sort of built itself up from nothing in the UK, and how New Orleans. It's like the difference is like what you call it when a deep dirty South artist is shouting out the South. They're like shouting out an area the size of Europe with literally millions of people in there. And even if it's only the people in the hoods from that area, it's still like bigger than the fucking population of the UK. Whereas like definitely. Grime was like shouting out like one specific road in London, like
in Bow, like just E3 Roman Road, like, and that's it. There's like 50 people who know where that road is. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's way different, bro. It's a lot. Like I think about it myself. Even if I was to get just people in Walthamstow on board, what's that? 10,000 people? Do you know what I mean? Like, how many people really live here? Like, but you're talking about the South of the South of America. Like, it's a giant. It's just a vast space. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Florida,
like
Alabama, like it's just supremely massive.
Texas in general, like flipping, like you could drive longer in a straight line in Texas.
I heard that. I was speaking to I can't even remember what rapper it was. But he said you can drive for 10 hours in Texas and still be in Texas.
Yeah.
Like that, since you can't drive for 10 hours in England and you will end up in the water. Like 100%.
4 hours tops. 4 hours tops. You know, fucking 5 hours, you've come up the other side, you're in France, like, and you've still got another 5 hours to go. And you're not going to still be in France, like.
No, it's mad. The vastness of that place is incredible, man.
Yeah, I can't fathom it, like.
No, I heard something. I think I'll have to Google it, but I'm sure that you can fit the entire population of the world in Texas.
Yeah.
Like,
I believe it all, like.
And like, so everyone's got like 6 feet or 8 feet of room around them. It's not, you're not crammed in. You've got some space, but the whole world could fit into Texas. I'm sure I read that somewhere. I'll have to Google that again, but I'm sure I did.
Yeah, flipping, it's absolutely wild, like, and so you do wonder, like, flipping, like, because there must still be like scenes that are just popping off in just one city in Texas, like.
Yeah, like, no one knows about.
Like it's one thing I remember is like, because like I've been over to America to battle a couple of times, and but I've been like not battling on huge King of the Dot events. I've been battling on like smaller things, and like I remember like particularly like when I did the thing in like Haverhill, like outside of Boston. Like, you know, it's just like the local area, and it's just like fucking like people from there who rap, and like flipping their. I was like speaking to people outside. And saying like, oh, what's your favorite battle like? Thinking they're going to say like fucking Pat Stay or fucking Disaster or something. And they go, oh, this guy. And they start pointing to like where the street is like. And it turns out it was like some battle that's like fucking, it's on YouTube somewhere that's filmed on a phone with like 150 fucking views. And it was like and the reason it's good is because just in that local area, it was like a beef that had been running because of something someone had said on a fucking track that they'd put on their fucking MySpace page.
Oh, yeah. The MySpace days. Wow. But I know it's like that. Like you can pop in your area.
Yeah.
But you can be really successful just in your area.
Yeah. Which
is it's an amazing thing, like the rest of the. But I think America's insular like that anyway. Yeah. They're very.
It's big enough that it can be insular like that. Like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can make a profitable show that's only like that only appeals to people within like 2 mile radius of the venue.
Yeah, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. Yeah, that is crazy, man. You got any plans to go back there and battle again? You going back over there?
I will try and get back over to No Coast, man. Like, cause I just really like the fucking vibe over there, like over in fucking Minneapolis. Like, I mean, I went when I went to Boston. Like the next day, we went over to the King of the Dot event, like where it was like fucking the surprise battle was fucking Hollow and Disaster that they hadn't even announced. Like I just came back from the bog looking where my mates were, and fucking Hollow and Disaster just taking their hoods off. Like, so I've seen that kind of scale, but I do like fucking like just hitting that local thing, like with the warm up, with like the warm up battles. Like I've not seen them battle before, but they're just like a local rapper from the area. Like, and like flipping, if I had the time to do it, like I'd love to just like travel America, go into those different places just to check out, just to talk to the people who've like don't even know who that big headline is. I don't know who fucking A-Ward is, but me mate's fucking battling like. And I just want to talk to all those people across the entire state and probably Canada and all. Like,
yeah, it's good. I much prefer smaller events to the larger ones. And I like them little, the small battles beforehand, the people you just don't know, you've never heard of. Like, and just turn up and you're like, oh, I've never heard of you before, but I like you. Now, like, I'm a fan. You've made me a fan. In this room, it's always good just to, because you know what the big names are going to do. You know what they're about. You want new talent, especially when you've been doing it for as long as we've been doing it. You
Yeah.
want to see new people come through and be like, yeah, it's good. It's still carrying in a good direction.
Yeah, even if it's people that aren't going to carry on battling, it's just like fucking. If there's going to be rapping in my area, then I'm going to turn up and do some rapping. Like people who just do one battle like that, it's fucking. Like I remember, like the first battle I did for Don't Flop was the one Briggsy did in Newcastle, where I was battling Dank Schrader, and there was like what you call it, a grime clash on there. I think it was just B versus Blitz, but not the Blitz we know, a different Blitz. And like I thought it was just like some kind of tryout thing. But in that Newcastle area, they're both the guys locally. The guys, and it was a big thing for them to fucking. So it was just like a massive one for that local area. Like I just want to see them battles in person all the time.
Yeah, no, those are like, those are the ones that mean the most. When you're big in your neighborhood, you just turned up like, we're going to get it. We're cracking, getting this on and cracking now. And no one outside of here knows.
Yeah.
But everybody who's in the know is buzzing for this. Yeah. Like, absolutely buzzing. Yeah, it's great stuff, man.
Oh, fucking hell, it fucking rules. I can't be arsed spinning it back to films. Fuck it. As I say, like some of these things are the deep dives. Sometimes we just have a vibes in one, and this is a vibes in one. I'm flipping full zombies deep on a Monday, like.
No, I've actually forgot it was Monday because I took the day off work because obviously you had the wedding, we had to travel back and all sorts. So my day done.
I'm actually happy that you just told me that you've had the day off work, man. Flipping like yesterday's weather, 3-piece suit, Guinness, a wedding, and then work the next day.
Yeah, mate, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I would not have been able to do it, man. I was dying. Although saying that, I was. We stayed up in the hotel on Saturday night. And I've got into this new series. It's not a movie, but it is a Western series called That Dirty Black Bag. Have you heard of that?
I've not heard of that, man.
It's about a bounty hunter who chops the heads off and carries them in this dirty black bag because it's lighter to carry. It's easier to carry than bringing their bodies with them. Right? So, and I'm 4 episodes in so far.
Hell of a setup.
Yeah, it's decent. It's proper. It's set in the Old West. Yeah. Like this bounty hunters running around. There's prostitution. There's murderers. It's very violent. But I'm well into it at the moment, man.
It's mad, isn't it? Like cowboy films are like considered the most quintessentially American film. Like it's the most true American genre we think about it as. But I don't think they started getting good till the Italians started doing them. It's the spaghetti westerns, like.
The best one.
And like, you know, it was like the fucking spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood. And it's cause like the fucking like I'm not so into the John Wayne things because then it was just all very fucking. It was cowboys and Indians, Native Americans, but they were known as cowboys and Indians films. And like it was very much the fucking white guy is the fucking hero, and the other guys who actually fucking live there are the baddies. And it was kind of all bullshit. And then like the Italians come along who don't have that kind of investment. And what's it called? They say, no, the fucking guy who's even going to be the hero could be a bit of a fucking cunt.
Yeah. No, they make, like, I love them, man. I'm proper. Although I watched the documentary the other day. I think it was Tony Robinson, Baldrick.
Yeah.
He did a documentary on the Old West. And it only lasted for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a massive, you think of it like, Americans were doing that for like 100 and something years. Yeah. And they weren't. It was like this really small period of time when cowboys were about.
Yeah, it was just this really brief window between like flipping setting up and like building a town and then saying, no, we need some actual fucking infrastructure here. There was
we need rules as well. Like
we can't just keep whoever is the best at shooting wins because that guy's going to get shot. Someone's going to catch a stray. Our guns aren't actually that accurate.
Yeah, they're not that accurate at all. We're firing at him. We've killed that lady over there. It's proper mad, man. But I like the time frame.
Yeah, so I feel like I was thinking about it because because they are like the John Wayne era. That's like very much like sort of like it's racism, isn't it? That era.
Yes.
And I kind of think that makes it even funnier how John Wayne died. Do you know how John Wayne died?
No, I don't know how John Wayne died.
Like fucking, he was doing a film about Genghis Khan and he was playing Genghis Khan. And,
obviously.
Yeah. And it was like all white guys in yellow face. The whole thing. Yeah. But fucking like, so they needed somewhere that didn't look like America to film it. They just needed like a desolate wasteland. So the place where they filmed it was this place where they'd been doing like testing nuclear bombs, like not that soon earlier.
Oh.
So they filmed this fucking thing with John Wayne, like fucking like dressed as a Mongolian emperor and like all this. And they filmed it there and the entire cast and crew got radiation poisoning, leukemia, and fucking died. And that's like, that's how we found out you can't be around radioactive areas. Like,
is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a hell of a story, bro. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's weird because I'm not the biggest. Like I said, I used to watch like the Alan Ladd ones. My dad was a John Wayne fan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't really into them. But even them, you had what they called the Indians, but it was white people with makeup on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they are weird. To look at them with today's sensibilities, it's a very weird way. Like, it's just propaganda. It's American propaganda.
Yeah.
Just writ large. Like, we're these guys. Those are savages. Like,
we're
the
good
heroes. Guys. We're the heroes of the story. And
and that's why when the Italians come in and they don't have that flipping bias towards like white America.
Yeah.
And we get Clint Eastwood being a cunt. And he is a cunt. But there's people who are worse cunts and he will shoot them. but he's not doing it because he's the good guy. He's doing it to get what he wants. And like, I think that's what made them Westerns good. And they're such mad films. Like, they're all dubbed because fucking like, the thing is with like the Italian spaghetti Westerns, like other Italian movies, it was like only in the 90s that they started recording like live sound in Italian movies. It goes back to Mussolini.
Wait. Really? None of this. This is all news to me, bro.
Yeah. If you go back and watch them, the way the lips don't match up, it's because there was like people like there's like Italian guys, the Spanish guys, there's all different actors, and they all speak their own language. And it goes back to Mussolini, because obviously Mussolini, not a fucking like nice guy. Fucking, he had rules like, if you're going to be making films, you're not allowed to say like even one line that can be interpreted as disrespectful for me. So there has to be like someone from the government present, like while you're like recording all the lines. But it's long, like if you're recording in fucking like a desert and you're going over here and it's long, like fucking taking some government knobhead over around just to listen. So they just didn't record like the actual speaking. And they said like, we'll record it in a sound studio later and the government guy can sit in the corner there.
Wow.
So that's why they set it up. But like after Mussolini was departed, they realized like, hang on, like if this is how we're doing it anyway, then we can get big Hollywood actors in. It doesn't matter. They don't speak Italian. We'll just get an Italian guy to speak it later. And we'll get some English people to do the Italian guys. And then we can sell it overseas. We could sell them all that way.
Yeah.
And that was the Italian movie industry. Like, so like in a lot of the, and like, they just write the script. So it was like a sentence of a similar length. So like flipping, like if you see a Mexican in a Clint Eastwood movie, it might be a Spanish dude or it might be an Italian dude. And he was actually speaking English or Italian on set.
You know what? That's like mind blowing, man. Especially like the Mussolini connection. But then them realizing like, you know what? It's just easier to do it this way. We'll just keep on. It's way easier.
That's where spaghetti westerns came from. They said, hang on, like fucking if we're like if we can put A1 in, then like we could just make our own westerns and like fucking, all we need is like a big American star, because the star's going to be the one selling it. So we'll get Clint Eastwood, and like fucking like he looks Mediterranean enough that the Italian audience would fuck with him. If there was an Italian voice coming out of his mouth.
Wow, that's proper mind blowing.
Yeah,
you're gonna have me going back watching them, looking for the bits that's dubbed now.
Yeah, like the Arrow thing I was telling you, like they got like all westerns on there that like there isn't like an English version of it anymore, like the Sartana westerns and all this, like. And that's where like Django came from. I watched the original Django over the weekend.
What's that like? Good?
Yeah, it's cool. Like it's really bleak because the Italians are like make the old West look fucked up. Like it's not a pleasant fucking place to be. And like Django's just this mysterious guy who's like fucking like wife was killed, and he comes into town like fucking dragging a fucking coffin behind him. And like there's this beef in this town between like these fucking like sort of like racist American settlers and fucking like the Mexicans in the area. Like fucking like Americans wouldn't make a Western with that kind of setup.
Yeah.
And like eventually it turns out that fucking like the coffin that Django's been dragging around is a fucking Gatling gun.
As you do. As you do.
Yeah.
That's I'm gonna check that out, because funnily enough, I was watching Django, I think it might have been Thursday. It might have been Thursday evening before I went to bed. It was on, but I can only watch it up to a certain part. When he gets to Candyland, I can't watch it anymore, man. The brutality and the racism gets too much for me.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
Yeah, fucking like like the original Django's like 1966, but it was like dealing with racism against Mexicans in Texas, which is like a fucking mad thing. Like, you know, there's fucking like still that problem today.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah, man. Fucking like I don't know if you watch I don't know if you watch much stand-up comedy, but there's this guy I'm really into called Shane Gillis, who's this American guy. His new specials on YouTube. It's fucking brilliant.
Okay.
He's talking about like American football and like fucking like you know, like the whole film Remember the Titans, when like you started bringing through players from the flipping Negro leagues and all that. Like that was 1974.
Yeah.
We'd been to the moon a while ago.
It's mad, ain't it? Yeah. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. 74. Like that's literally, it's 4 years before I was born.
Yeah.
Like I was born in 78, man. That's
they still had fucking like separate sports leagues for the different races.
That's mad. But I was sort of thinking the other day about how they were against teaching critical race theory. And they were like,
fucking like.
Yeah, it's mad. But they had this tweet about Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. You can teach that, but you can't teach what the color barrier was.
Yeah. Fucking, I think there's a big movement to sort of demonize what critical race theory is. And that's the kind of thing, because like the actual, what critical race theory actually is, to teach that in schools is just a common fucking sense thing. Like,
it's just like, this is normal. This is how we used to be in this country. And we're trying not to be like that anymore. Yeah, but they're like, no, we have no evidence to that. Yeah,
it's like the analogy that flipping like well, when we grew up, fucking they never told you anything about why America became independent, like from us. Like,
yeah, for real. We don't talk about the civil. Yeah, it's not a discussion.
Yeah.
That's it's a weird thing, man. Weird country. But even that, like Hollywood, the propaganda that America spent decades pumping out, like Rocky IV is a very good example of it. Do you know what I mean? It's a very good. It's so 80s. It's so like, you know, it's the middle of the Cold War. Do you know what I mean? Like even the song that goes along with it. Two worlds collide, rival nations. Like he's just singing about America like capitalism versus communism.
Yeah.
The entire thing is about it. Do you know what I mean? It's
like fucking like Russians were like action movies in general from the fucking 80s, like
all the Russia, yeah.
I've heard an interesting thing about the new Top Gun film.
Okay.
Because like the version of the new Top Gun film that you watch in the cinemas in the UK and the States, and it doesn't mention what the rival nation is. It's just like they never say a name of a country, or they never say a name of a political party. It's just they're the bad guys. It's just like general like that. But there was a thing going around that I can't remember what country it was, but someone said like well, I watched it in this country and they say it's Iran. So apparently, like I haven't been able to like get access to like any confirmed details of it, but apparently there's different cuts of it like that actually refer to a nation's enemies as this.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
Deep fucking military propaganda, and like the fucking thing about it is they're selling different versions of propaganda to the different
countries, to whichever it's going to work better over here. This one's going to work well over here. This one will work here, but it's the same propaganda.
I mean, mad. Like fucking like because I mean like presumably like they learned the lesson that fucking like fucking sales for red heat weren't particularly good in Russia.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're doing, because like I mean like even if you take the enemies out of it, like it's hard, like and you know it's a good film and you can I hear it's a good film. I haven't seen it yet, but you can enjoy it. Like I don't think you have to agree with the politics of a film to enjoy it, but it's like it's hard to argue that the Top Gun films aren't pro-American military industrial complex propaganda.
Yeah,
even some of the Marvel films, it's something we've always had, America saving the world and that.
Yeah, that's what they put out forever, man. They're always the greatest country in the world, man. Yeah. And the movies let you know that.
Yeah. I remember watching Independence Day in the cinema, like, you know, the aliens are invading the earth. And like, I mean, it's called Independence Day and the fucking president's flying a fucking... So it's obviously going to be that. But like the only thing they show of like different countries around the world is like the Eiffel Tower gets blown up and someone goes, Sacre bleu.
Yeah.
And like fucking Big Ben and someone goes, crikey, governor, and all this kind of thing. Like, that's the rest of the world. I don't really particularly have a problem with it, but I think it's important to recognize it for what it is at the same time.
Yeah, you definitely have to recognize the propaganda that they're trying to put across. Yeah, you've got, but like, I'm with you, bro. I'm watching the movie. I know what it is. I'm not swayed by the propaganda, but we know, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm going to sit in and watch it, man.
But that's why it's important to have like your critical race theory and your teaching why America's independent and like teaching about what the British Empire really was in schools, because
that's how you don't do it again.
People can enjoy like a propaganda film as long as they know the reality. If your only frame of reference is like fucking like if your only frame of reference to Russia is Rocky IV and Red Heat.
Yeah, that's wild. Have you speaking of like Stallone films, have you seen the Chuck Wepner story? Have you heard of the Chuck Wepner story?
I haven't, no, man.
Bro, you love it. You need to get onto it, man. I think it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
But basically, Sylvester Stallone stole Chuck Wepner's life and made them into movies. Like, Chuck Wepner fought Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
So, and he was like this underdog that they picked from anywhere. They picked a random guy to fight Ali. Yeah. And Sylvester Stallone was walking past the place where they was having his fight. And he was like, I'm going to write a film about that. He wrote,
and it's going to be me.
Yeah, he wrote this and he shipped it out to everyone, and he wanted to be the character. So everyone was like, no, we need someone else. But eventually it got made and it started his whole, like, that was his thing. Yeah. But he also, Chuck Wepner fought Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
So did Rock.
Yeah, they used the actual guy.
Yeah, there's like literally there's so many parts of this guy's life that Sly Stallone just mirrored and made movies about.
Yeah.
There's loads of them. What's the other one? Is it the arm wrestling one?
Oh, Over the Top.
Over the Top. There's just loads of things like, yeah, he just took this guy's life.
He was over the top as well.
Yeah, yeah. But he had to settle out of court. But there's a whole documentary on it on YouTube, man, the Chuck Wepner story. And Sly just took his life and just wrote movies about it. It's insane. And now he's one of the biggest actors of the 80s, Sly, you know what I mean, into the 90s.
Yeah. Like the fucking influence, like they're still making Creed movies, like. So.
He's still here hanging on in there, man. Like somebody said to me, I was talking to Reveal the other day. I was with Reveal, and he was talking about, he saw someone, he was with someone, and it was like, that guy looks like Sylvester Stallone. I think that's Sylvester Stallone. And he's looked up, and he was like, bro, that's like Sylvester Stallone in the 80s. You know Donnie's like 79 or something right now. That's not Sylvester Stallone, bro. And that the geezer actually went up to him and was like, bro, I'm like 35 or something like that. I'm not Sylvester Stallone. They're weird. But yeah, he's getting on, man. Yeah, still banging out movies, though.
Yeah. Fucking hell, isn't it? It's wild how all those people are fucking, like, still fucking, like... Because I think about, like, fucking, like the mortality rate in, like, wrestling is, like, ridiculously high, in it. Like, fucking, like, something like 40% of the wrestlers that were in like WrestleMania in like 1992 are dead because because of what they fucking like been through and what they put their bodies through, like the fucking steroids and the physical abuse. Whereas like the action stars that were like the equivalent of just like fucking had the safest Hollywood lives ever.
Yeah, just growing old gracefully. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got stuntmen for the difficult parts. Yeah. They just, you know what I mean? It's easy. Easy. Oh man. So what? Being as it is a movie thing, and I know, like, I saw one the other day. I saw a title, and I had to tweet you in it. Like, this is like a movie that Kinell watches, and I'm pretty sure you tweeted me back. Like, I've seen that. Like, I've seen that one there. So what are you into as a like your thing?
I'm into like. To put it in real terms, like I love horror, I love action and all this, but really I'm into crate digging.
Okay,
that's the equivalent of what I'm in. Like I want to find these fucking hidden gems, and I'll fucking see things in them that fucking other people won't necessarily do. Like fucking I hear like sometimes I'll seek out a film just because it's like been put together in the maddest way or something.
Okay.
Like like one example's like fucking Tammy and the T-Rex, which was like Paul Walker's first film.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul Walker and fucking I can't remember the girl's name in it, but she was big. She was in fucking like Starship Troopers and all these kind of things. And it was like it's from 1993. And like how that whole film just got made is like this one guy like did a bit with films and fucking like he knew a dude whose job it was to like fucking like ship amusement park things around the country. Like when they have like a big thing in Disneyland, they'll have it up for so long and then they'll get a new attraction and they sell them off to like somewhere in fucking shithole Alabama and fucking he moves them around. And he had a 3-week window when he had like a full-size T-Rex. And he goes, I've got a full-size animatronic T-Rex for 3 weeks. So we got to make any film you can make in 3 weeks with this film. And like, because obviously, you know, if you're fucking like dealing with low-budget films, that's a big touch. Like, we've got a T-Rex. Yeah. We haven't got the rest of the fucking things. You can't make Jurassic Park. So he ended up like probably writing in one sitting on cocaine. He wrote a teen comedy, like, because like fucking, I think Clueless had not been long out, and Paul Walker's this guy, and he's going out with this girl, and the local bully in the school doesn't like it, So he kidnaps Paul Walker and he throws at him and they dumps him in a safari park. So they had access to a safari park for some reason. And he gets eaten by lions. And then some German guy like steals his brain out the hospital and puts it in a robot T-Rex. And it's this fucking teen comedy with this. And so we had to get a special effects guy for some of the other shit in. So we got this guy called John Carl Beakler, who's like fucking like, he does like killings for like the Friday the 13th movies and all this kind of thing. He's like a gore guy, but he was available for this 3-week window. So they said, yeah, I haven't got time to check what you're doing, just crack on. So he just made like, it's this like light-hearted teen comedy, but he just made like fucking like a really violent autopsy scene in it and all this kind of thing. And it had jokes in the autopsy scene where they're playing with his brain and his dick's popping up under the sheet and all this kind of thing. And like fucking the producer, like at the end of it, sort of like, who the fuck is this for? It's a teen comedy, and you put a fucking autopsy scene in the middle of it. So they like cut it down to like put it out and like sell it to European audiences, straight to video or whatever. But like recently, this like a few years ago, like someone found the original print, and this company called Vinegar Syndrome that like restores the maddest old shit. They restore all like fucking like porn from the 70s and stuff. Like anything they can find, they find this rare shit that no one else would give a shit about. And they like restore it so it's like a good version. And like, because something's filmed on film, like it's just light and celluloid, you could always like get the quality better. So they've like fucking like restored this fucking film to like, so it looks amazing and put it out again.
T-Rex, Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah.
Well, I've got some information from today. I'm going home. Like, I'm just going to immediately just start looking for this stuff. Tammy and the T-Rex. So you're a crate digger. The more obscure, the better.
Yeah, man. And fucking like sometimes I find stuff that's shit or I don't fuck with, but I want to dig. I want to find like the Italians, particularly like fucking like that's why I know so much about the spaghetti westerns because like they went through a phase of like the Italians went through a phase of like because they didn't have like fucking no fucking copyright fucking laws over there. So like fucking like. So, like, if a film was, like, successful, they'll just fucking make a sequel for it and call it, like, they put out a Terminator 2, fucking, like, Dawn of the Dead 2. They're just not asked, like, fucking, like, oh, Terminator's successful. Well, I'm going to make my own and call it Terminator 2, and I don't give a fuck what you're going to do about it because I'm funded by the fucking mafia. You're not coming over here, like, try take us to the Italian courts. We own them as well. Like, fucking, like, some films I got, like, fucking Cemetery Man and that. Like, you look at the production credits at the start, and it's like Silvio Berlusconi.
Wow.
And he's like probably never even seen the film. He was just laundering some money from the mafia, like.
That's crazy. So you don't mind, like, you watch foreign films, you don't mind what country do you take them all on?
Yeah, man. Fucking like, but there's ones that, because like it's just so much to look through. I tend to like stick to my stuff, but I like it when fucking you know, occasionally so I look for the guys who are like just mad into one specific thing, and that's where you go for the information. Like Dave Wayne, the guy I was telling you that runs a video shop. He's got like fucking like he runs a podcast just on the director video erotic thrillers of the 1990s. You remember all them, like with Shannon Tweed and all that shit?
Wow.
And you'd be like fucking, and you'd like check them out, and it'd be like the only time you'd see a tit, and like, but like that whole genre has just been completely neglected, and like fucking like him and this other guy Matty that he works with, they're like the world's leading expert on it because no one has bothered looking into it. But they like look, they fucking like contact the guys who made the films and like the fucking like people like that. And it's like those people, like you got to find them that are the experts, and it comes full circle because that was how we used to find our hip hop back when we were going off covers. You'd have to find the guy that was just mad into it, and he'd be the fucking guy that would give you the information that you could spend your money for your one album. You could afford that one.
Definitely. Like I remember I had there was a kid in school, Lopez.
Yeah.
He was in the 5th year when I was in the 1st year, but he used to make mixtapes.
Yeah.
And I bought one of his mixtapes and like the handwritten label with all the songs, but off the back of that, of that song by that rapper, never heard of before. We're off to Red Records. Like I can't. You probably know yourself the amount of stuff you bought, never having heard it. Like just off the strength of someone saying that name. You walk in there. Oh yeah, Thingy told me about that. I'll have that.
So you have to know who. So you have to know who's got the good information.
Yeah, definitely. Because I bought some stinkers, man. I remember buying a Kid and Play album.
Yeah.
Like, I think off the basis of House Party, and they were much better actors.
I think I did exactly the same thing. Like, the Kid and Play were big, and like, but no one was recommending Kid and Play for me. I just like fucking like watching the Pajama Jammy Jam and fucking me and my mates fucking like smash up me mates his mum's living room, fucking trying to do the fucking like link your feet together and bounce in a circle dance.
Man, we did all of that. Did all of that. But yeah, I bought a Kid and Play album and I played it once and I never played it again, man.
Yeah.
Like, they were not great. Yeah.
And that was an insane thing to like fucking not listen to an album twice in them days that you paid for.
Yeah, and you bought it. You bought the thing. But yeah. It's a different game now, man. Different game. So are you in contact with like various other crate digging movie like aficionados?
Yeah, flipping. I try and speak. I try and find out the people that are the fucking experts, like fucking like sort of like fucking like the Zobo out in London. Zobo with a shotgun. She's fucking like an expert on extreme horror, so we'll check what she's saying on things, and like she'll talk about films I like in that genre, and then she'll mention shit I haven't even heard of, so then I got to seek it out. You know, like flipping Dave Wayne's like fucking. He's an expert on like. When I had him on the podcast, we had a big chat about like when there was like a lot of like low budget rapper action movies coming out at the back end of the 90s. And we were talking about the ones that like Albert Pune did with fucking like Big Pun and fucking Snoop, and he'd never be on set. So like all this stuff would be like peering around a corner, and occasionally he'd have to stand in the background. They'd fucking superimpose his head onto a body double.
Wow.
Yeah, like fucking like that. That's a mad scene. Like fucking like we talk about Albert Pune a lot. Albert Pune is the guy who directed some big films like fucking like Cyborg and all this kind of thing. Okay, but he just made so many films. He was just like addicted to doing it. Like fucking Cyborg was like, that film was like put together like Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Basically, fucking like Canon Films were like going to make Masters of the Universe 2, and they were going to make a Spider-Man film. And they lost the rights, and but they'd already started making some props. So they just said to Albert Pune, make whatever fucking film you can with these props, and we'll give you this fucking Belgian cunt, fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he can be in it.
Wow.
And then they were just like wrapping it up, and then fucking Kickboxer started blowing up in the cinemas. So they're like, oh shit, we got a film of him on the books. So like let's tart it up a bit. So they contacted Albert Pune because we need some reshoots to make this a bit better. He goes, I need this much money in 7 days. And he took the money, did the reshoots in 4 days. And then the remaining 3 days, he got all the cast and crew to make this other film that he just wrote in one fucking sitting without knowing they were in it. And like just got everyone to be in this fucking film that he like sold himself at Cannes and didn't cut anyone else in, like.
Wow.
Yeah, he fucking like the film's like fucking really chaotic because he's just written it in one fucking sitting. Like, can you imagine if you sat down, wrote a round in one go? It's like he wrote a film in one go.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But he like made all the I think like Urban Menace was one of them. It was like 3 films with like Big Pun and Ice-T in and all that. And I think it was basically Ice-T like fucking like was like funding films so he could put his films on the soundtrack, and like so he could put his songs on the soundtrack and collect the royalties. It was around that 1998 album he did. Like, I can't remember what it's called, but it had like one of the singles sampled on Vogue. I remember that.
Okay, but, I don't remember.
Yeah. But Albert Pune was supposed to make a film that was like a compilation. It was like 3 short stories with like, it had Pun in it, and it had Big Al, and it had Snoop in it. And like they filmed it in Austria because it was the cheapest fucking place. And like they decided on the plane over, no, actually, we're going to make 3 films. So we just made 3 films out there. Fucking like, but he didn't write no more scripts. He just said, we'll fucking figure it out. made 3 feature-length films, and fucking Snoop's not turning up. So like, so like they just like fucking superimpose his body. And then after they made these 3 films out of like 1 film's worth of script, fucking like the airline lost like most of the films, most of the actual film cartridges. And he said, "Nah, fuck it, we're good." So he just fucking took the videos of the dailies, the VHS dailies, to just see how it looked, and like overexposed them and cut the film out of that. And that's why like those fucking late 90s hip-hop movies had such that weird stylized look to him, because like Albert Pume was making it out of fucking VHS bullshit, because he was like, "No, I'm finishing this film, I'm finishing all 3 of these films and getting paid."
That's crazy. I've never even heard of the guy.
Yeah,
like that's mad.
Yeah,
I know Steven Seagal made a few films with rappers.
Yeah,
in like the 90s and the early 2000s, but he's another. I fell down a Seagal rabbit hole the other day, man.
Yeah,
about how like bizarre his life is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's insane. Like he came up through ballet and then fucking like, and like fucking at some point convinced himself that he really was this fucking kung fu master.
Yeah,
it's not how it really works in real life. Like fucking like the one story about him is like, because he was convinced he had all these fucking Zen Buddhist monk fucking powers. Yeah. He goes like, "No one can fucking choke me out in a sleeper hold. It's not possible because I've got too much control over my body."
And the guy made him shit himself, right?
Yeah.
That guy choked him out and made him shit his pants. I heard about it. Like I got lost. I watched about 3. There's loads of stuff about Steven Seagal on YouTube, and I just got sucked in. I lost like 4 hours just watching stuff about him, and he's absolutely crazy. Yeah. Like, and the films he makes the same film every single time. He's
gradually doing less and less physical stuff, getting fatter and fatter.
Yeah, just getting fatter and fatter. And like he's gone from actually doing like 3 moves to just like one minor hip toss, and the guy,
then the guns start coming out. Yeah. And like I think in his last film, like he's fucking like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget, fucking sitting on a chair like this, like pressing buttons on a computer. He's not even on the same set as the stuntman.
Oh man, yeah, he's nuts. But even him, like, how did he become a movie star, man? What? Yeah. How did this occur? Like, what sort of a timeline were we in that Steven Seagal was allowed to become a major star at some point?
The huge amount of cocaine timeline, I think, of the 1980s, like fucking like that's someone like fucking like someone meets him in the 80s and goes, "I'll make you a fucking star. I can fucking sell this." That's fucking what it is. Like fucking crazy decisions were made in the 80s.
Yeah, man. That's like you're right though. Do you remember like things like Revenge of the Nerds?
Yeah. Like the amount of things that happen in those films that are literally sexual assault.
Yeah, mate. There's Pookies. Like when I was a kid, Pookies was like my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you look back on it, like this is not okay, man.
Yeah.
Like, this ain't right.
Even like the American Pie films, like fucking it. Yeah. Fucking like I'll tell you what, if you want to have a bit of a, because I know you like reading books, and a good book to get hold of is Teen Movie Hell. I can't remember who it's by, but it like fucking talks about the culture and the evolution of like the teen movie, which sort of starts off with Porky's, and like the last way, because basically it was a way that you could like sell something to teenagers that had tits in it, and like fucking American Pie and Road Trip and that were like the last wave of it. You know, like unrated edition. And then they got killed off by internet porn because you could just see tits. But like, that's what it was like, fucking like Penelope Spheris, who did like Wayne's World and all those kind of things, like her first film, she was making something, like she took it to the producers and they said, "If you show nipples in this 3 times, we will give you like another 6 million to make it a bigger film." And like, wow. Because that's what it was like. Other than the covers, like we were saying at the start, it was the fucking like that was another thing. Like, and again, it was word of mouth. It was when your mate told you there was tits in it.
Yeah. And you used to pause that exact frame thing. Yeah, that was. I remember. Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood had titties in it.
Yeah.
One scene, and that I wore that scene out, man.
Yeah.
I wore that scene out.
I think I did. I think the tracking was fucked up on that bit of my tape.
Yeah, you know, it gives that little wobble. Yeah, and the line goes all the way up through the screen. Yeah, man. But that's what it was. That's what it was. Little bit of Bush, little T. Happy days, man. Happy days. I remember American Werewolf in London. There was as another one.
Yeah. Fucking now I've got in a fucking 4K version over there. Like.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn. That's a horror classic. That one is it considered a horror? Or is it more?
I think I think comedy horror in general is like something that like very few people get right, but when they do, it fucking bangs. American Werewolf in London was when they did like it had Jenny Agutter like and fucking hell, she.
Yeah, mate. As a young boy, those was the days. Saying that as a weird science was one of those like. Kelly the Brock, who incidentally was married to Steven Seagal at one point.
Yeah. That was one of the in this teen movie. But check out this book, Teen Movie Hell.
I just Googled it. I found it up there. Yeah, so I'm gonna order this out.
Yeah, man. It's a fascinating tale of that side of Hollywood, and it's so fascinating because it's something that. Like literally, we grew up with from Porky's to American Pie. We were there for that via weird science and all these things. We were there for the whole era. Like,
yeah, it's a glorious time.
Yeah, man, it was, man, it was. Hey, fucking well. On that note, I think we're gonna wrap the pod up there, man. Before we go, like just had that amazing battle with Bizzo, Battle of the Year. Many are saying. And
it's coming out. It looks that way, man. It looks that way. I think it's gonna take a very, very good battle to beat it.
Yeah,
you know
man.
I mean, but
it's one of those. I don't think they will, but I'm kind of excited to see who tries.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest with you, anybody that any battle that's gonna compete with that this year is gonna be a battle worth watching anyway, because that was genuinely one of the best battles I've ever been in. Like he went absolutely insane, man. He went crazy, but yeah, it was good fun.
Sweet. So other than that, is there anything you want to plug your socials or any of that?
Yeah, you can catch me at Tony D Poison on Twitter, at Tony D Poison on Insta, because I'm very basic. So it's the same across all socials. And check out the podcast I do with comedian David Alfie Ward and former supermodel Reese Sanders, and it's called Has It Come to This? And that's pretty much it.
Okay, safe. This has been the KSC podcast. Thanks again. We'll be back next week because I do these weekly now. Safe.